How is everybody?
Very well. How are you?
Good.
Good.
All right. Looks like we're live. Let me just double check this here, guys. Yep, we are. Cool. Oh, let me just. Okay, so yeah, guys, welcome. This is the Sovryn stream. We got Pei Chen from Rootstock with us, Jacky Rivero from MoneyOnChain, also Wayne here from Sovryn, and myself, Magnus from Sovryn. I'll be here moderating a bit and also taking in audience questions, etc. We're streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter, so we should get a nice little audience going. Guys, just so everyone who's watching who isn't familiar with you want to just give yourself a little introduction. Jacky, you want to go first since you're at the top there?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Jacky. I live in Venezuela, and I'm marketing lead from MoneyOnChain, which is a stablecoin protocol. I've been working on projects related to Bitcoin in the marketing side since 2017. So, well, it's very fun to be here with you.
Nice. Great to be here. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear you about Venezuela. So you're from there originally, and you live is it Caracas or somewhere else, you say? I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Hello, hello.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't know, my sound was like repeating. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm from Venezuela and I live here as well. I live in Caracas, and yeah, I'm from here.
Gotcha. Sorry, it's a bit of a lag right here. So sorry, it might seem like an awkward silence, but I just can't hear you at first. All right, Pei, did you want to introduce yourself and what you've been getting up to at Rootstock?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Pei, VP Growth at IOV Labs, which is the company behind Rootstock and Riff, as well as Taringa. So Rootstock, interesting fact, is the platform Sovryn and MoneyOnChain built on top of. So we're very proud of being a partner to you guys. Previously, I've worked at Consensus on strategic initiatives, as well as on the trading side at Goldman Sachs. Very nice to be here.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Pei. Wayne, how are you? Wayne here from Sovryn. Can you hear me?
Hey guys, adoption lead from Sovryn. Nice to be here. I'm looking forward to talking about some of the products we got on the go and some of the challenges we're facing in the current market with marketing. Background is multiple industries, as kind of CMOs leading startups with multiple exits. And in the last couple of years, finding myself in crypto, and more specifically Bitcoin, which the geek in me loves. So thanks, Magnus.
Forgot I was muted. Sorry, guys. So, Wayne, not to put you on the spot here, but what did you want to just delve in? I mean, we just had this launch at Sovryn. What are some of the things in the pipeline with Sovryn at the moment? Could you delve into that briefly for us?
Yeah, I think some of the product releases we've had, considering the market conditions, I see the same with RSK, and the main protocols on RSK is we've had some pretty phenomenal organic growth, considering this deep bear market that we've been in. And particularly with Sovryn, last year we launched Zero, so 0% interest loans using Bitcoin as your collateral. And pushing up to a huge amount of TVL organically, which I think, to me, that one particular product screams to the fact of, in this particular market and in bear markets, building things that are valuable. Not just leveraging hype and sentiment and the upward trajectory of all these kind of tokens in market, but building things during a bear market that people really want and that resonate with these audiences. And I think we found that with Zero, and the TVL growth that we found on Zero completely organically, both with our community and in market, since we launched in July last year. huge demand against that product. And I think coming into 2023, as you guys would have seen in that phone call that we had, not phone call, virtual event that we had on the 9th of February, we've got some pretty exciting product releases and feature releases coming up. Sovryn dollar, stablecoins, BTC-backed stablecoins. We've got the second version, V2.0 of our trading DApp coming up next month, which I think in terms of user experience and customer experience will really outshine the market when a lot of trading protocols and trading interfaces are designed for people who are very well versed in the market. I think this will have a broader appeal to a range of people that are maybe new to DeFi but understand cryptocurrency. As Sovryn Finance, Sovryn Bank coming up, bridging the real world into BTC through Sovryn Finance. And a range of features we have coming up in the next few months. So I think especially Q1, Q2 will be an exciting time for Sovryn. We'll continue to leverage on Zero, and Sovryn Dollar and Sovryn Finance will be big products for us coming up in H1 of this year.
Nice. Yes, I know a lot of people are looking forward to the Sovryn Dollar project and all that stuff going on right now. Pei, I was wondering I've been hearing a lot about Rootstock and different campaigns going on in Argentina per se. Is there anything you wanted to elaborate on that different upcoming stuff that were in the pipeline with Rootstock?
Absolutely. So last year in November, we launched or relaunched the brand Rootstock through a Rootstock summit in Buenos Aires. And that was sort of the time where we brought all the ecosystem partners together to discuss the current and future state of Rootstock. So that was very successful gathering. Saw a lot of you guys as well from Sovryn. We since then we've announced our partnership with Boombit, a top exchange in Argentina. And we're exploring very actively on other types of partnerships right now with players in the LATAM space, and not only limited to crypto players, but also non-crypto organizations. And I think the campaign's continuing in terms of from that, a series of efforts engaging different parts of audience. And, Argentina still is our home space, but we're not limited to it. But looking in Colombia, which is quickly becoming kind of a hub for some of the most strongest use cases in crypto, right? To protect people from inflation and so on, to provide payments rails as well. We're looking at markets like Brazil. It's not Spanish-speaking countries, so there's a lot of work around it that needs to be done. We need to find the right partners, the right use cases for that market if we're seriously going into it. We're also looking outside of that region as well. I think the common theme in terms of campaigns and what we're looking to for new opportunities has been, our hypothesis is like the trust in governments is very low in certain countries and areas. That's where we see a lot of opportunities for our technology is where a different alternative financial systems or payments solutions are required or needed. That's where we're going and taking a very, very deep look at it. And I think also giving the control back in the hands of the citizens, right? Whether that's identity or assets or in terms of wealth and managing their own wealth, whether that's about having a voice in, a voice in society or certain key decisions on the citizens. I think that lies very deeply in our mission and vision as well. And it was when Rootstock was built out, it was a team of entrepreneurs in Latin America. The goal was to solve Latin America specific problems, but that problems have since kind of spread it to a lot of the rest of the world, right? We're not only seeing the issues in that area, but also in pockets like Turkey or Africa, Southeast Asia, for instance. So those are all possible kind of areas for next round of campaigns. So kind of went a little bit longer on that.
Yeah, no, super, super interesting. I guess it begs the question, like countries that are in your, I guess, scope. Would Venezuela be a part of that? I suppose, given like maybe Jacky, could you attest to that? Is that something that's being worked on with MoneyOnChain, given that you're there, and it apparently seems to be a need. Actually, there's a sovereign contributor who is in Venezuela, and for him, he said like Bitcoin, for example, is a lifeline. Like, is there anything you could talk about that, Jacky? I mean, it must. I have to ask,
Yeah, really, Venezuela is like a place where all things, like all the real solutions, we can put it in place. Like here people like really need access to money in a way that can only be controlled by them. Here are pretty popular like some centralized exchanges, and like for example, in Venezuela, Binance is pretty huge. I usually joke with my friends that it's the central bank of Venezuela, and that is for a side, it's like positive because there is a lot of awareness around cryptocurrencies. But well, we all know all the dangers of centralization. Here we're having, I believe it's like the work, peer to peer work. We are doing some um, meetups and workshops, and we are talking about the importance of decentralization and really owning your money. And well, that is a task where we are currently like investing time, um but as well, the MoneyOnChain team, it's as well focusing, basically all Latam. And as Pei say, I believe like every day we just get used to, like, to understand that the problems that we have here in Latin America are not only happening here, sadly. um but yeah, it's huge, like the usage of crypto in general in Venezuela. It's something like that you can see on the streets. I won't lie saying to you guys, like, you will go everywhere and you will find like a way of payment, but there is some interest. People is kind of interested in crypto, and I believe like if they could be educated in the safer, decentralized, and like being the real owner of your assets, it will be for the best. So we're working towards that.
Jacky, do you think people have a higher knowledge of decentralized finance than in westernized countries in Latam, because of security of assets and access to money? Do you think the propensity of people that know about DeFi, you talked about Binance, but is DeFi quite a big topic in the kind of crypto scene?
Yeah, that sadly, people I went to Argentina last year. There people is interest like in the risks of having like a neo bank, but here people is not in that place yet. So we need like to actually start educating them, for them to just to see the dangers. So right now, people is interested in DeFi in the sense of they can get leverage if they invest, but it's not some sort of like the decentralization of things is not really on top of mind for people in Venezuela. That's like the reality. I will really like that we start like getting that sparkle in people's mind about it. But so far I believe people is just looking for alternative, because Venezuela reality is pretty hard, and access to physical dollars, to cash is hard as well. We don't have many options. Their stable coins are like really important. So I really want that, like, would like to people start getting to know more about DeFi, but so far it is not on the top of mind of people. I believe there is like a huge room for us to bring like more awareness on DeFi for Bitcoin here in Venezuela. But right now we're like building that. We are building a small community. We are start participating in every meetup, Bitcoin meetup that we have here, so we can start, letting things grow.
What percentage of people in Venezuela are using like just Bitcoin, crypto in general, stable coins? Do you know like a rough estimate?
I don't have a rough estimate, but people here for the way that things evolved, people have been interacting indirectly with crypto. For example, local Bitcoin that recently closed had like the most important volume traded in Latam was from Venezuela, but people really didn't knew. So it was like an indirect interaction with cryptocurrencies. But in the general spectrum, I will say like it's little. There are many people that have heard of it. Since few years back, we had like an intent of a cryptocurrency pushed by the government that didn't end up good. But yeah, it's not maybe not used by many, but certainly known by many.
And does Money on Chain, are you doing any particular Venezuela type like
Well,
marketing pushes per se?
we are organizing some educational spaces, like some workshops. We have done in the past year some like meetups and doing some talks so people can start interacting with the protocol. And right now we are working on ways to get them to access to the whole ecosystem, because for Venezuelans, stable coins are just a way to saving dollars, another way to save dollars. So it's pretty important for us to, well, to have some partners in Venezuela that they can do the ramp of ramp kind of things. But we're working on that. That is pretty important for Venezuelans, because we are not used to save up in our on our in bolivares, and that is not something that actually happened.
Are you hodling Bitcoin or are you hodling dollars at this time? Like a bit of both, I guess.
Yeah. I do hold both. Because well, we thing is that Venezuela is so complicated that we only use our currency when we pay stuff. So the rest of the time, every Venezuelan that can, like they have the opportunity, put that into dollars. That's why like centralized exchanges like Bitcoin have that huge of an access, because you can use the P, like peer-to-peer, quote unquote peer-to-peer exchange part of it, and go to from bolivars to dollars pretty fast. That's how people see it. They don't see like stable coins, they see dollars. And well, that's a huge opportunity. But as I told you, there is a huge road to to conquer on the fact that it's not actually dollars. Those are stable coins. And well, it is important to have a decentralized stable coin for XYZ. But yeah, that is like a huge road for us in the Venezuelan market. And yeah, certainly we have like a lot to take.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I could ask you questions about this kind of thing all night, but I don't want to just focus on it as well. It's super interesting, and yeah. But yeah, guys, so we have a whole bunch of audience questions that people submitted anonymously, and to anyone watching, you can just comment on the YouTube, or you can also comment on Twitter and LinkedIn if you're watching. But I'm gonna throw a few comments to you guys from that people have submitted and questions. Give me a sec here. I had one for you, Pei. One moment, I'll get it up. Okay, so it says, how will regulations boost or hold back certain marketing strategies? What do you think should not be allowed in a DeFi world in terms of marketing? Bit of a general question, but that one was for you.
Yeah, I think like when it comes to marketing, it's super relevant, regulation and where you can say certain things, right? Like there are products you simply cannot push in the US because it's gonna immediately hit the security law alarm, right? So we, from the marketing perspective, we certainly hold back completely on speaking about or mentioning any type of a form of certain products that are built on the layer 3 perspective. But Rootstock itself is it's a infrastructure, it's a platform, it's open source, it's pretty fully decentralized. So that's been kind of focus of in terms of in the US and North America, or global wide. It's pretty free to talk about. I think stablecoin is probably like the most sensitive word right now. Ironically, I think I totally get what Jacky mentioned. Like users in certain countries where inflation is hyperinflation is such a big problem, the first thing that they get their payroll, right, their paycheck or money, they think about converting into dollars, right, to escape from that inflation. It's almost like you have to do it right away. Versus users in the US or more developed countries with more stable fiat currencies, that they think about, which stocks should I buy, or should I just leave in a savings or checking account? You barely think about, that there's a follow-up action, right, at the point of getting paid. So that's kind of like a very unique user flow and a psychological kind of reaction to the receipt of money. But I think at the end of the day, yeah, like, the regulation is becoming, I think, more and more of a reality that we are all living with in the space. I have my own thesis of how that's going to end up like, pretty much CBDC / regulated stablecoins. But, secretly, I'm also hoping there's a space for Bitcoin-backed, stablecoin, for instance, that when Bitcoin is accepted as a pretty safe and kind of non-speculative instrument, but that's for another day of story. But yeah, like other than that, when a payment happens across border or between two unknown entities, and then the question of like KYC comes in right away, and you have to be careful. I think we have to be careful in the space, right, where you exercise the KYC, where you don't. How do you draw the line? How do you protect yourself from like future kind of questions? And another last point is, the level of decentralization. How decentralized is decentralized enough? And how can you step out, especially for Rootstock? How can we make sure that we're not playing the major role in shaping the ecosystem? This should be a decentralized and governed by the community, not by a specific group of engineers, for instance.
Very good stuff. I have a follow-up question, I suppose, that could delve into what you're saying. So another question, Pei, it said, how far away do the panelists think that we are from DeFi offering standard banking solutions such as mortgages, credit cards, or debt?
How far are we from those use cases like mortgage?
Yeah, DeFi, like standard banking solutions, stuff like mortgages, etc., credit cards, that kind of thing.
I feel like that's when I think it will happen at the same time when real world assets can be easily kind of collateralized and being used, right? That's kind of what the current mortgage and other standard banking system instruments are being offered, because you have a piece of collateral that you can sort of put forward, be like, hey, you can come after me when things go wrong or I cannot pay back. And I think there is a really pragmatic piece of design that needs to happen on the use case front, like where the collateral and the credit products can be linked and leveraged very, like, going back and forth very easily. We are kind of close to it, I would say. I think there are a lot of tokenization or real world tokenization use cases happening and in production today, right? I don't want to drop names there, but they're definitely, if you look hard enough, you'll see a bunch of them. And getting access to them isn't so hard either. And then the last point is it also depends on which market are you talking about, right? So it's much easier to do in certain markets than others.
Thank you very much for that one. And I do have another question. It was actually for Jacky, because it says MoneyOnChain here. It says, considering MoneyOnChain's value prop, do you think this feature of stablecoins is centralized or decentralized?
So, could you please repeat the last part of the question? Do you consider?
Yeah. So it says, considering MoneyOnChain's value prop, do you think the future of stablecoins is centralized or decentralized?
Well, the future stablecoins, I will aim for them to be decentralized. That is like I hearing what Pei was saying, like the future could be like a bunch of CBDCs being from Venezuela. I don't believe like decentralization is a thing of a narrative, as I have heard some like people in the like like in the whole crypto space saying, for maybe for someone that have been living in a country where everything like functions more or less like in a decent way, it could be suitable. Like, well, it's like having a cryptocurrency or a stable coin, but it's controlled in some level by the state or the government. And but for me, and I believe this resonate with the mission of MoneyOnChain of building a stable coin that can be an instrument for people to build the whole like decentralized finance system. It's pretty important that it maintains itself decentralized. It is like we are all here. We are seeing what had just happened with BUSD and how, well, when a government propose to like destroy something, they will do it. Like they will pass it, they will stop it. And having access to Bitcoin is really important. I believe it's key, but not all people have the privilege to only hold Bitcoin, because we are not talking about your lifetime saving. We are talking about like for example in Venezuela, the money that you will use to pay rent, that you will use to buy your food, and it's pretty everyday stuff. So I really believe like we need to stablecoins to be decentralized. I'm pretty optimistic by the fact that I believe that Bitcoin will 100% survive the next round of tryouts that governments and their attacks will put them. We are heading to a really scary place, and I believe like anti-fragility will be a really important concept, and for Bitcoin, and obviously for us that are like building on top of Bitcoin. But yeah, I believe like in general, most centralized stablecoin will have a future like really complicated, and only decentralized stablecoins will succeed. That's why on MoneyOnChain in the late months, well, not me, because I'm on the marketing team, but all the tech team have been working really hard to finalize the decentralization roadmap that have been like the goal since day one, and it's going pretty well. We are just about to launch the IPFS version of the DApp, and that's like our north, and that's like our vision, to be completely honest.
Well, I for one wholeheartedly agree with you. Wayne, did you have something to add?
I was just wondering, Jacky, in Venezuela and Pei Chen and Latam in general, we in these Western countries, we're in them in the UK currently, the government is highly anti crypto, stable coins, whatever it is. They're pushing forward with CBDCs at a rate of knots, and even a threshold, a ceiling to CBDCs and what you can hold in terms of personal wealth. My personal feeling is that'll push people towards decentralized stablecoins and Bitcoin more and more. Like it's an inevitable outcome. The perception we have here is that governments in Latam are far more receptive towards cryptocurrency and far more receptive to, say, centralized stablecoins as a form of currency, as a form of currency with utility in everyday life. Are you seeing with governments in Latam that there's a real pushback in terms of hyper regulation on stablecoins and cryptocurrencies, or is it the opposite? Are they adopting it as a valid form of alternative currency?
Well, so far in Latam, there have been a lot of efforts towards regulating not specifically stablecoins, but regulating exchanges and the other actors in the ecosystem. So far, for I believe Venezuela was like the first country in Latin America in having a specific regulation for crypto, and they pretty much killed the industry. Like we had many like little changes, peer-to-peer things, and regulation basically killed them. That's why, again, Binance took the market, because Binance is huge. But here, like the local market basically suffer and have been suffering since 2017 when this started happening. But so far, in terms of regulation for stable coins particularly, governments are not too pushy. Here in Venezuela, it's completely legal to own Bitcoin and other crypto assets. Like that's what the law states. But well, Venezuela, it's a funny place, just to say in some light way. But I know that, for example, in Colombia, they are doing a sandbox with the partners and the whole industry there to regulate them. But so far, none of them that I'm aware of, it's focused on stablecoin, on how much like crypto you can own. That, for example, I saw that happen in Canada. Like you can buy in a year, like top this amount of money on Bitcoin or on any crypto asset. Here, that's not happening. Partially, I believe, because the main like trouble or problem that government are seeing is that they have some sort of financial unregulated parties working on their countries, but they have not like pushed forward with that. That is like the current state. We have not prohibition. We have prohibition in certain countries to use dollars, to own dollars. That is a thing, but it's not specifically for stable coins.
Yeah, my views. I think that's something just happened. We're back. I feel like my personal view is any governments in the right state of mind would not be thrilled to see a CBDC taking over their centrally authorized or issued currency. Within one big exception is their fiat currency is failing miserably and completely, right? So in that state, what do you do? Look at El Salvador as an example, where the president of the country basically said, let's embrace Bitcoin, let's turn into this Bitcoin into our fiat, essentially, right? Let's run the country on top of Bitcoin. Let's go into the mining space. Let's raise fund for that. It's essentially, in other words, it's like they've given up on fiat currency systems that they've believed that there's Bitcoin is the alternative, and they should do everything around that. Another extreme example is to look at the U.S. U.S. is going after Binance. It's very clear with the recent regulatory moves, banking, rules and all of that, right? But they're not banning Circle, for instance, right? That's USD backed stable coins, because USDC will still go back. It will still stem from the USD fiat currency systems. They're not getting divorced, right, from their fiat currency. So, and while the world is basically controlled and runs on US dollars, it's very important for a country like the US to step up and actually really figure out their CBDC plan that is going to be compatible, pragmatic, and reasonable with what's already kind of thriving in the private sector. So I think the question about whether it's going to be decentralized or not is not as important as what would that stablecoin be pegged to, right? What would be the collateral? What would be the pegging currency? And those are going to be dominant parameters for the future of stablecoins.
Given this talk about decentralization with stablecoins et al., I did have a question coming in earlier about the decentralization of like communication platforms such as Nostr. Does the panel have an opinion on things like Nostr? Is it necessary? What do we think in the age of censorship? It's an open question, by the way.
I think with the exploitation of PII data and personal data and a trend towards a market of people getting sick of centralized control of data, especially through social media platforms, where your data is worth more than you are as a human being. I think there's a real need for it. I think playing around with Nostra, it's, as with DeFi in general, customer experience is going to be the next big hurdle that these platforms need to get over. Customer experience for people that are not well versed in DeFi, or not well versed in using wallet addresses, or not well versed in using multiple kind of crypto or DeFi applications. It's such a barrier to entry for people who are new to the decentralized space, whether that's in finance or communication. I think it'll be a booming industry over the coming years. Decentralized communication, decentralization across all industries, of course, but decentralized communication. But I think just like with DeFi and the challenge that we're facing currently with Sovryn, as you know, Magnus, customer experience and how do you broaden your achievable market and simplify customer experience to allow DeFi and probably the same with decentralized communication, to allow it to be ubiquitously attractive and usable to people. So I think the market is going to be absolutely huge for decentralization across all industries, especially social media and communication. I think the massive hurdle right now is how do you make it accessible for a broad range of people.
Yeah, I think it's definitely very interesting. I haven't played around with it enough to draw my conclusion. It's but as a growth person, I thought about like business model right away. I'm like, how this relay model, how fast or how slow it's going to reach the mainstream or the massive group of people, right? Versus if you have a platform like Twitter, which kind of grows like a weeds, right? So it's just easy. So kind of it always goes back to like the UX UI and how do you make a case on the commercial side as well, or not making a commercial at all, right? Let it grow in value, and if it's cheap enough on the infrastructure, and just let it evolve. Other than that, yeah, just so far very positive product.
Yeah, I believe it's pretty cool the fact that like we're being able to play around with the first version of Nostr, and I believe like other apps like Kit are pretty cool. But for sure we need to figure out how to put this again. I believe like the conversation about the importance of decentralization, and it's there. We need to have it, like we need to have it outside our crypto world to get it outside us as a niche, because it's not that widespread, and I believe maybe social channels could be an interesting way to lead people to Bitcoin from another round, from another yeah, coming way. But so far, I believe it's pretty cool. I really like the way that it's evolving, but sure thing we have. Well, I hope soon the devs had time to keep improving on the UX part, because it's confusing. It could be confusing even for that, like us people that interact with wallets and stuff. So yeah, definitely for someone that is not used to that kind of things could be hard, but I hope that we will get there soon.
Question for Jacky and Pei Chen especially. These platforms, Nostra, DeFi indexing platforms, communities that we go into, being limited from mainstream paid media kind of platforms, we end up in this siloed situation where we talk to people who understand our product already, who understand the market already. How do you broaden that achievable market? How do you, especially in LATAM countries, how do you extend the reach of your messaging around decentralized finance and the benefits of non-custodial financial solutions when you're so limited with digital reach?
Yeah, it's hard, because internally we have talked about it, a lot about this, because all the things that you can do like in a fiat product, like ads and stuff, are completely banned for us. And for me, I believe it's like organic or die. For the content side of things, we do like a lot of digital content that is intent to like aim to virality, to connect with people outside our niche. For example, stable coins are used by people that like doesn't know they are using actual stable coins in some markets and in some payrolls. So we try to like use that, leverage that. But in other ways, I believe we have like a hard time as well, trying to get outside of the niche. But at the same time, I believe we can, like all as an industry, I believe we are building a neo type of marketing, because I really believe that every rule that applies for a traditional brand, it needs to be broken in order to market like DeFi products. So yeah, I believe like we need to be like inventive. I believe community is a huge part, and it's not directly like our PR campaign or something, but that works, like that focusing on building communities in places end up in people knowing about your products and your services and all. So that is like the other way for us so far.
Yeah, I think it's really challenging if you're directly addressing end users. So we're as Rootstock, again, our success rests on the success of the protocols that build on it, right? The ecosystem partners are super important to us. We spend a lot of time thinking about co-marketing, thinking about campaigns together, thinking about their narratives, how that embed into the Rootstock's roadmap and narrative. But I think a layer up, right? If you really talk about kind of go to market and reach the audience, we have Rootstock Infrastructure Framework, or called RIF. We'll be relaunching that brand very soon as well in the coming months. And that the strategy is simply B2B2C, meaning we find the partners that we trust have the either the strongest channels, right? See them as distribution partners. They can get us to the end users that can use our infrastructure and product on the layer 3 kind components. And then we also, our bets is also that it needs to be two types of partners. One is very crypto native, and it's you guys, and it's like similar kind of high caliber protocol partners, and then the traditional or Web2 fintechs, the neobanks, the digital wallets, the kind of a little bit more traditional, mature, but they've kind of been working with their users for ages, right? So they kind of know the sweet spots, how to push products, new offerings to their users, and we just kind of need to find that solutions together with them. So through that is sort of the rest is just marketing kind of budget and energy, I guess. Like you always have to make sure you check your audience, make sure the engagement level is up, right? We have, for instance, 500,000, I think, followers, but are they all kind of true followers? And are we really interacting with them in like a meaningful way? Are we engaging with them on product level? Or is it just like buzzwords and FOMO kind of type of conversations, right? So there's some like very serious kind of data mining work to do and analysis, and have to always do like A/B testing and see how messaging resonates and raises reactions. And on top of that, we do have kind of targeted a long list, but like a targeted companies that we look at, and we say to ourselves like those will be the companies that help us reach the next billion users. And how do we position ourselves, right, from a product protocol point of view? And that's actually a very big chunk of my work, my CMO's work this year.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for that. I just noticed a comment from Maria in the YouTube saying, building user journey that is easy, friendly, and empathetic with everyday use cases. I believe this will be the key to address this audience. Couldn't agree more with you, especially about building these everyday use cases. I did have one more question, guys, from a user in the Philippines. Let me just read it here. When are y'all coming out to the Philippines? And how can I get involved? How can regular people get involved in spreading adoption? Open question.
When is Sovryn gonna be in the Philippines?
I know we have users out there, but
yeah, we're seeing a pretty growing amount of traffic, website traffic from kind of Asian countries, including the Philippines. It's hard without PII data to actually figure out who's coming from where. We look at analytics data to a point. We don't want to be sharing too much personally identifiable information with Google or any of these kind of centralized tech agencies, but we are seeing growing amounts of traffic from countries such as the Philippines onto the protocol. And I think an objective of ours for 2023 is to focus on developing markets where crypto is booming, such as Southeast Asia, Latam, using regional localized marketing campaigns and translation services across our website and our DApp to appeal to these people. So it is definitely on the horizon. When we're coming to the Philippines, I don't know, Magnus, the surf in the Philippines looks pretty good, man. Maybe we should go this year.
Good point.
But in terms of Sovryn, I mean, the reach that we're achieving globally, especially across Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries, huge boom in India over the last month. We saw last year, especially around the BitConf and a lot of the co-promotion we did with RSK, a lot of traction in Argentina and the TAM countries. So it's definitely a focus of Sovryn on our roadmap and how we can start targeting users in those locations, and how we can start customizing our service and our customer experience to suit users in those regions as well.
I think as for us is we would definitely and I'm not ashamed to admit that it's been a challenge to try and establish presence in Southeast Asia. I think the key challenge is around on the ground presence, and this is a community driven economy. You in order to build that community, you need people, so to speak, on the ground to understand the culture, knows, what the pain points are, who are the users, what they're interested in, right? Like the constant kind of engagement and action is super important to really build a product that's gonna stick and it's gonna receive adoption. So I think it still remains, like the Philippines, as well as other Asian markets, still remain as a challenge from that perspective. We don't have a ton of people. We don't actually have many people at all in Asia. It's also a challenge from a time zone perspective. I'm based in Boston. A lot of my team is in either Argentina, Europe, like UK, or in the US, right? So it's you have to at least like either asking people to like stay up all night to grow the market, or you have a on the ground, local team that can really drive that effort. Perhaps that's a good ambition, I think, to have for the second half of the year. But certainly, I think in this like bear market, the key is to focus and really kind of deploy the resources and human resources and energy, right, that we have. We can only focus on sort of one market or two markets at a time.
Yeah, and certainly if the person that asked the question is interested in building, I believe a great program is the ambassadors program, the Rootstock ambassador programs. They are pretty, like, I really love it. There are people all around the world in Africa, in Latin America. So maybe it's time for the program to have an ambassador in the Philippines, and that gives like one part of what Pei was saying. Like, you need to understand the market to well approach for real what people there will be interested in. So I really believe that if people is interested, people hearing this, they can look about the Rootstock ambassador programs. I know that we have done some meetups, along with Sovryn in Africa, with Alex, which is one of the ambassadors, and there are a lot of other activities that we can do with them if you feel like participating on that. So that is an option. I believe like Bitcoin and decentralized like networks such as Rootstock are built by people, and so if you want to jump in and start building, well, you can look right there.
Awesome, Jacky, great point. We do have an ambassador program, and we have people from around the world, doing great work and also, rewarded, right, for the ambassador efforts. And this is actually a pretty good suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, great actionable advice right there, guys. Been a great little live stream. Thank you very much for attending. I want to but before we depart, if you want to say anything where people should find you, Wayne, really quick, where should people go to find out more about Sovryn?
Sovryn.com. It'll link you to the DApp. We've got our new website and a new brand that'll launch. In particular, check out Sovryn Dollar. Especially in the markets we've been talking about. I think a BTC-backed stablecoin with no counterparty risk. People want to hold their savings in a digital dollar, completely transparent. Obviously BTC has liquidity, convenience, et cetera, et cetera. Check it out. Register the interest is coming next month. Have a look at our new brand and our website.
Check out that beautiful website, brand new. Pei, where can people find you? Where should they go to learn about Rootstock?
Yeah, for Rootstock, we have websites, Twitter. Website is rootstock.io, and on Twitter, it's rootstock_io, I believe. We're just looking for that Rootstock circle. And we also have the layer 3 product suite called RIF, or Rootstock Infrastructure Framework. So you can find on Twitter, RIF, RIF_OS, operating system. So RIF_OS is where you can find a lot of the latest news. We're, I believe, relaunching our website. So let's give give the marketing team a little bit of time to get ready for that. In the meantime, you can always find me on Twitter. It's PEICHEN01, so Pei Chen 01. So hope to continue some of the conversation there.
Brilliant. Follow her. Jacky, did you want to plug your stuff with MoneyOnChain and yourself?
Yeah, well, you can go to moneyonchain.com and then find everything about DOC, $chain, and BPRO, which is a liquidity token. That since we are pretty deep in the bear market, you might want to check, what happened usually after the bear market. And from the social of MoneyOnChain, we have at MoneyOnChain OK, which is like the protocol channel, and as well we have the community channel, which is in Spanish, and you can find it at MoneyOnChain ES, as in Español. And for me, you can find me over Twitter as Jacky Rivero, just as is written in the name. I am Jacky Rivero, and well, if anything, I'm always in the Telegram group of MoneyOnChain.
Cool. And it was I am Jacky Rivero, your Twitter?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Cool. All right, everyone. Yes, and of course, there's the Sovryn Twitter. You can follow us as well if you haven't already, at SovrynBTC. Thank you very much to our guests for coming. Thank you for all these top marketers bringing the DeFi word across the world. Thanks so much. Thank you for your time, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Stay Sovryn.